original U.S. Virgin Islands St. Thomas flag was designed by one of my great-great-grandfathers. I was diagnosed with high anxiety, generalized anxiety, so I had to remind myself to stay calm about certain things and just take it slow. These days, everything feels rushed and urgent when there are some parts of our lives where you just need to take a different path just to break that monotony of high anxiety of urgency and just explore. And that's why I created this piece. I am Sophia Voelker. I'm a visual and mixed media artist, and this is The Layered Onion. By word of mouth, I was informed that the original U.S. Virgin Islands St. Thomas flag was designed by one of my great-great-grandfathers. So I was really impressed by that, and I did not believe them. I was like, "Are you kidding me?" And they're like, "No, seriously. The art runs in your blood." This is before I got really into art and wanting to venture into opening my own art studio, even though a lot of individuals believe that a studio means outside of your home and you're renting a space or you own a space. Correction is a studio is wherever you're creating your artwork, wherever your space is. Sometimes it starts with a kitchen table and literally your bathroom as the cleanup area. And then eventually, in time, it can build up to an actual separate office downstairs in your home where the door can be locked and all of your expensive equipment is away from the kids and they're not touching it. Right now, I am creating acrylics on canvas, experimenting with driftwood pieces, getting to know how to preserve them, how to mix them with other interesting pieces such as other wood like balsa wood, stone, other paints. If there's like modeling paste, I can probably put on there to exaggerate it. Faux moss or create faux moss with air dry clay. So these are things I will eventually venture into using and adding to the driftwood pieces, but it also has to do with the shape of it and how the driftwood piece expresses itself. Just recently, last year, my first driftwood piece that sold was called Blue Edge, and it had like a really sharp cutoff to it, like it was going upward and onward. And I wanted to add, it looked like a little mountainside or a cliff. And I added a blue moon to it and called it a Blue Edge, and went ahead and screwed it to the frame. And it was a beautiful, modern, complementary piece and immediately sold. It really was a handsome piece. And I continued to create such pieces. I did finish a commission, actually. One of my collectors for his 71st birthday bought a release. It was a beautiful piece, but it spoke to him because he's part of the Cloud Society. And it had several different driftwood pieces. So there are 3 of them that I felt actually matched his requirements, his request in the commission. And one piece resembled clouds, so I used water-based stain. And another one resembled the beach and the water. I used, again, an acrylic stain and also like a acrylic polymer to drag the piece through or the paint through the piece. And then the final one was, again, another balsa wood circle to resemble the sun. And that was completed. So a lot of my paintings, I don't follow a true signature style. Maybe my brush strokes give me away as the signature style. But a lot of my artwork is created, I should say, based off of my life experiences, the events in my life. The piece to the right of my shoulder, it's called Frosted Kisses. And that's the most recent piece I took based off of winter scenery. And I rarely ever do winter scenery because for me, it's really hard to capture that emotion for me. I'm more of a sunny side person. And when I was taking a walk with my daughter down a walking path in a park near where we live, there was just one little lonely tree. Its little red leaves barely fallen off. It still had a little crowning at the bottom. And I thought it was the most beautiful tree ever. And it had all the snow around it. And only like maybe a rabbit or some squirrels ran across it and made some markings on the trail or in the snow next to it. And behind it it's like I guess a lake or a pond. and had frozen over. And then you have these trees, barren trees, framing it towards the back. And I took a photo of that. And I was like, I'm going to make a picture of this. I just don't know how I'm going to do it. And I had a really old canvas. And I decided, you know what, to show it that it's really peaceful and calming, but also very frozen, I had to texturize it to make it look like it was ice, very icy, broken ice, maybe a little glacial appearance to it, painted over that. So the surface that I used, the texture that I used was modeling paste. And once the modeling paste dried completely, because it was during the summer that I did this, humidity affects a lot of stuff. I painted over that and went ahead and took the photo from my cell that I took a picture of and painted it, and then I added to it. So a lot of the paintings I have are not always exactly what I took a picture of, but it's because of how I felt or how I feel while I'm creating the piece. And I go from there. Exactly. And that includes when you're drafting, you sketch it out and frame it and make it look like draw a little rectangle and say, okay, this is a 30 by 40 canvas. This is the idea I'm thinking. Right now I have an ink sketch of one of my series called Inspirational Series. It's pointillism and high contrast curved movement. The Ruler of the Soul is one of the inspirational pieces. So you're going to see a lot of pointillism. You're going to see a lot of movement, a lot of contrast. And the more people have looked at it, the more comments they've made, like, it looks like this. It looks like it's moving to the left or it's moving to the right, because that's the idea that I want. I want it to show movement. And then some of my other pieces are more thought-provoking, based off of events that have happened well before I was born or while I was still learning history, American history, but unfortunately, a lot of that history is excluded based off of African-American achievements. And I felt starved of that knowledge. So I created a piece for Black History Month called Be the Star. And this is the piece to my left. No, it's the star. Oh, you moved it. Sorry. That's okay. So it's Be the Star. So African-American women that have contributed and continue to contribute to space science. And one of the first astronauts, African-American women, that I still to this day remember now is Mae Jemison. And just seeing her smile and seeing how proud she was and seeing a poster of that when I was a kid and looking at that going, God, that just makes this just that one photo just made me feel so strong and just happy, and just at the same time regretful that I didn't see it in the textbooks. Mm-hmm. I didn't hear about enough of this. And when I was growing up in school, I've had one teacher when I was going to school in Las Vegas, finishing my high school years in Las Vegas. And Mrs. Hayes, she was a really great history teacher, and she assigned everyone to go to the library. Yes, it's a library. You go in there, you do your microfiche, your card index, all that stuff. Before the internet was really, really, people were really familiar with it. Do your research and choose African-American figures in different fields, not just entertainment and sports, that to this day have and continue to touch our lives. Inventions, politics, science, music, psychology, whatever it is, activism. And I really remember that day, and I was just like, oh, wow, it was like a breath of fresh air. And to sit down and see the kids' eyes grow and get all excited about it. So that's why I created the piece Be the Star, because it reminds me of the day when I was in high school and my history teacher. So my piece called Explore, it's acrylic on canvas. It does have an owner now, so that's why I don't have the original piece in front of me. But it does have a home now, and I basically wanted to push myself to explore something that would persist in my mind and remind myself to slow down. These days, everything feels rushed and urgent, when there are some parts of our lives where you could just need to take a different path just to break that monotony of high anxiety of urgency and just explore. And that's why I created this piece. And it's one of my first slow moments where I actually forced myself to experiment with something different when it came to a painting such as Explore. And that said, because not everyone feels like they should share their failures, I'm not saying you should show all of them, but there are some that are so laughable that you have to share them. It makes others people feel comfortable. It gives them a chance to like relax. Like, it's okay. You don't have to be perfect. Mm-hmm. It's just like with parenting. If you're stressing out, like, it has to be perfect. It has to be, everything has to be done just right. There are moments where like, no, it doesn't have to be right. I'll give you 2 examples. So we'll talk about the art part and then I'll talk about the parenting part. 2 examples. First one, art part. An example for the art would be, the Blue Edge piece that I created, the driftwood piece that I created. I wanted to show the very start of it, the raw bleached driftwood that I was starting with. And then I did a video telling them what my thoughts were, what the piece would look like, what the end result would be. Nothing was painted, nothing was stained yet. I wanted to show my followers and anyone that was viewing my site, my Instagram page, what the piece would look like from the very beginning and then all the way to the end. So during the video, I was showing them sticking the balsam wood moon into the little wedge that I had cut even deeper with the saw. And I showed them the saw and I told, yeah, I'm sawing it into there, making it deeper. And then I put the moon that's, was, again, nothing was painted yet. And of course, while I was talking to them, it fell, it fell out. I was laughing. I was like, oops. And I just picked it right back up and put it into the piece. And I was just like, anyway, we just went right on with it. And that's what people need. They need to be able to feel comfortable, like, oh, that wasn't perfect, but that was hilarious. Yeah. It doesn't have to be awesome. And I'm not saying every single poster has to be you making a mistake and flubbing, but lighten the mood a bit. It's already nerve-wracking to have to schedule time to sit down, do the post, create something, even if you're recording yourself or you're setting up your photo or your session, or you're just creating without having to post anything at all because you have no idea what this is going to look like and you're getting frustrated and you're going to move on to the second project. Mm-hmm. So the example with parenting, on the parenting side of this, trying not to take yourself so seriously all the time because the kids will see and they feel it. Kids aren't stupid. It had to do with Christmas cards. I haven't done Christmas cards in a long time because they don't think it's cool anymore. So I've moved on from that. It's a tween and a teenager. So I catch them when I can. But when they were roughly, I would say, I think they were 8 and 10. Yeah, it sounds about right. 8 and 10. I did one of the close to last Christmas cards photos and I set it up. I have my own tripod. I have my own camera, not my phone, but actual camera, Canon camera. Set it up on the tripod as I did many years before. I have these gigantic, long caramel gold drapes in our living space area. And I pulled the curtains closed. There's a Christmas tree in the back, made sure everything was lit up just so. The lighting in the back so they wouldn't have too much darkness, too many shades, shadows. But I also wanted to have a golden, soft look to it because it's Christmas. I didn't want that harsh blue LED look. So I made sure everything was warm lit. And they were dressed up in their finest. And I had them positioned in different, settings. And it's like, okay, you sit here, she stands there, you stand, she sits. And while we're doing the session, I don't know why, but my son just got a really bad case of the giggles. And he just kept on laughing. And normally any parent that was like, no, it has to be perfect, that's really nervous and trying to get the right shot. I stopped. At first I was like, Zink, come on, calm down. And then finally I just stopped myself. I was like, who cares? Just keep shooting. Just keep shooting. And so what I did was with that Christmas card, the center photo off to the side, the larger one, the focus was both of them just standing very angelically, my daughter was sitting and my son was standing angelically. And then there were 4 or 3 photos alongside that on the left-hand side that I formatted it and designed where you would see Zane slowly crumbling into laughter all the way along the side of the Christmas card. And I kept it that way. And that was by far everyone's favorite Christmas card. So I had started building up before I came to Madison.
Okay.
And before I met my husband, I just got a little bit of an itch and a little bit of an idea of where I wanted to go. As far as my exploring in the business of how to go about starting it up, it took off after I met my husband. And I had to pause that, as anyone in anyone's life. Sometimes there's a long pause in your life where you have to stop and then pick it up again and then get used to the new environment. So in Las Vegas, it was about 5 or 6 art shows and maybe an exhibit or 2 here and there. And then after I got married and I had my first son, I had to pause for a bit and then start up again. And then I'd have my daughter. And when we found out we were not going to live in Vegas anymore and we were going to move to Madison, Wisconsin for his position that he was hired here with, I had to stop, full stop, and find out exactly what the setting was, what the art community was like, what was available to me as an artist and also as an entrepreneur or partial entrepreneur going into the field here in this environment, in this region. It was understanding where to find the connections, the networking, where do I start my art fairs? How do I start art fairs here? How are they conducted here? You have a limited amount of time to be outside and to connect with people if you're going to do art fairs. If you're not going to do the art fairs, how do you connect, do exhibits? How do you get involved with community services? How are you servicing businesses or other artists? That was all difficult because I didn't know where to find. I didn't know where to look for. I was asking questions. I wasn't really sure what questions to ask for, if they were the correct ones, and who to connect with. But slowly but surely, I think one of the biggest aha moments was when I was at the Monona Art Fair. It was July 4th, and I want to say it was in 2021. It was right after the pandemic when things started revving right back up. So between 2021 and 2022, and I was at the Far Fair before this large thunderstorm came in and just wiped everyone out. We had to break our stuff down very early before 4 o'clock. So around 2 o'clock, as I was about to break my booth down and put everything away, there was a older lady that came in to my booth and talked with me for a little bit. And she told me about Paoli Art Fair, or Paoli Art in the Park, I should say. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, I'll take a look at that. And lately I've noticed from that point, it's a lot of word of mouth and then a lot of research and a lot of asking questions and knowing someone that has a connection with another person or maybe an organization. So from there, it took off with being at the Paoli Art in the Park in 2022. And then Oscar Morales came in and introduced me to his beautiful wife, Diane, and informed me about Art Party and said you should actually network here. And after that, the other connections started growing. So it's a tree of connections branching off from one person to the next person and in events as well. And that growth has continued, and I also continue to nourish it. You actually have to it's hard. It really is hard, difficult at times. When you have to balance a full-time job, you're a mother, and you also want to continue with your art career. It's important to keep abreast of what's important to you and not to forget that your family's always going to be there for you and to never let your dreams die, because one day a dream is not a dream, it's an actuality. And to accept the fact that, yes, you're going to have moments of doubt. You're going to have moments of thinking to yourself, why am I doing this? What is this for? This is so stupid. I feel dumb doing this. Comparing yourself to others, which is a big no-no, because everyone's journey is different. For me right now, I am trying to remind myself that snail's pace is okay for some situations. And then there are other situations where actions need to occur right away. You need to have a sense of urgency and be prepared to get that going. So a constant reminder that it's okay. You're in this spot right now. It's okay to pause. Sometimes you don't have a choice but to pause. I've had that twice in my life where I had to pause and not create, which is very hard for me to do. And in that time, when I see, like during the pandemic is a good example, to continue building on your skills and continue building on the relationships within our community. When you see an opportunity and there's a moment to pause because you're forced to pause, let's say you're on furlough, which I was on furlough with a company during pandemic. It was a short furlough, thank God, but still was furlough. I took advantage of that and taught myself to go online, assign myself classes for graphic design, digital artwork, get used to using a stylus and a tablet as opposed to pen and paper when you have the opportunity to just be in front of a computer, and creating templates. If you have a template of an idea of a painting or piece, sketch it. You either do it digitally, sketch it on piece of paper with ink and pencil, or do it on canvas. And I had a piece called Ruler of the Soul, and I did all three. But instead of pencil and paper, Ruler of the Soul was started with a mosaic, and it was pieces of mosaic pebbles, glass, and I would say drywall mud, which is very malleable for me and easy to use. And I'm just patient in the winter because it's lower humidity, so it dries faster. And once I saw the end result of that, I went ahead and did a digital sketch of it to see what the painting would look like or give me an idea of what I wanted to do with my painting. And then the final work piece that I wanted to exhibit and create was acrylic on canvas. And it turned out better than I expected because I had done all that planning and thought through it, different mediums to see where the end result would be. I was diagnosed with high anxiety, generalized anxiety. So I had to remind myself to stay calm about certain things and just take it slow and not feel the need to have a reactive moment. And art allows me to do that. It actually centers me. It calms me down. It doesn't matter whether I'm creating a clay piece and being whimsical about it, or if I'm creating something that's thought-provoking or calming, but it actually takes me out of the world, out of that center world where I'm feeling a little too anxious about something or a collection of events, and just sit down and center myself in front of that. And like, this is where we are right now, and practice mindfulness. So creating art allows me to slow things down, to also practice mindfulness and just be grateful in the moment. It's like, you don't have to worry about what's going to happen tomorrow or what happened yesterday, but we're going to worry about I shouldn't say worry. We're going to celebrate what's in front of us right now. And it's that moment of reminding myself that it's not the worry, it's not the anxiety, it's not the expectation. It's what you're thinking right now, because how you react to the situation is what you can control. You can't control what's going to happen tomorrow. And you certainly can't control what has happened in the past, because that's why it's called the past. So I have to center myself and let myself be able to breathe in the moment and just slow it down one way or the other. Count your achievements and be proud of those achievements, and know that those are achievements that will continue to grow, and allow for that process to keep building on itself. Be patient, because you will have moments where it feels like you're stuck, or it feels like, am I doing enough? Am I doing this right? And there's no such thing as if you're doing enough or doing right. It's just knowing the process, because there's a process to everything. There's a process to growth. And you can't compare what one person is doing compared to what you're doing at that time. As you're growing, as you're building, you're meeting your goals. Just be patient. You can reach out to me through my website, Black Butterfly Studio, through my social media, Instagram, The Black Butterfly Studio, on Facebook, Black Butterfly Studio. And if you'd like to see some of my artwork in person, you can visit Ravenswish Gallery in Janesville, Wisconsin, or Art Hub in Cambridge, Wisconsin. I'm Sophia Voelker, and this has been The Layered Onion.